I've talked about Batman and a bit about the Batman mythos on this channel, but one character that is indispensable to the Batman mythos that I haven't touched on is Robin. Batman in canon has pretty much always had a Robin, and the young group of heroes who have donned this mantle make up some of my favorite characters in comic books. This video will cater more to newcomers to Batman's story, because I'm going to run down the origins of each of the 4 main disciples who have acted as Robin. But stick around, because I'll also be giving my personal opinions of each one. Dick Grayson was the son of 2 acrobatic circus performers, and he himself was quite the talented acrobat as well. Dick unfortunately witnessed his parents being murdered during a stage performance that was staged as an accident, and Batman adopted him, becoming a father figure to the boy who was orphaned similarly to him, and training him to find the man who killed his parents. So after they put, spoiler alert, Tony Zuko away, Dick continued to stay under Bruce's tutelage, acting as Robin alongside Batman. Eventually Dick decides to move on from the mantle of Robin and become Nightwing, the title he currently holds. In some interpretations, it's a bit rockier than that, but in their adult years, Bruce and Dick feel affection and respect toward another. So, Nightwing is supposed to represent what Bruce wishes Batman could have been. He got all of his training in one spot, he doesn't have to use fear, and he doesn't have to live in darkness. He's the best case scenario, and unfortunately he's kind of perfect. In recent years, comics centered around Dick Grayson have been the least interesting out of any of the 4 main Robins in my opinion. Now that's not to say Dick Grayson is boring or a bad character, but I think by some unfortunate coincidence, all of the writing and stories with Dick Grayson as the only Bat family member has been bad for the past few years. I don't know how to explain it because I haven't really investigated, but it's something I observed when I read all of the comics surrounding the Bat family since the New 52 and a few classic Bat family storylines that are still canon in Rebirth. He used to be a pretty interesting and compelling character, but most of his recent comics have felt like celebratory fanfiction to me. And the weird thing is, the problem in all of these different storylines is that the character has seemed kinda too flawless lately. DC writing in general has gotten really meta. The entire Rebirth universe is narratively just kind of a deconstruction of comic books in general. But for Nightwing, the metatone means that the idea of him being the ideal son of Batman actually becomes his character, and he just becomes a really awesome, perfect character. I use that choice of words to remind you that I still love Nightwing, and I thoroughly enjoyed reading most of these stories, but some of them were a slog to get through because Nightwing hasn't really had a character arc in a while. Now I also want to state that this hasn't been true in stories that include multiple members of the Bat family. In Justice League Metal, Nightwing goes through quite the mental wringer as the world around him is mutilated and warped to the whims of madmen, and he has to wade through the madness to find his missing father. It's truly great stuff. But in particular, Grayson and the Rebirth Titans run after Wally came back were particularly uninteresting reads. So let me reiterate. Nightwing is a great character, but all 4 of the main Robins are great characters, so when I weigh them out next to each other, comparatively, Dick Grayson is not my favorite Robin. Nightwing is actually the best leader out of the Robins. He's the most charismatic member of the Bat family, and is naturally likable, so it's pretty easy to get people to rally behind him. He's also at the peak of skill and physical ability, in combat, athletics, and acrobatics. He can compete with Batman in pretty much every category. But Batman is more tenacious in nature, which makes him more dangerous and more frightening than Nightwing, and Bruce more so than Dick. I'm actually going to rank him 3rd best out of all the Robins. Yeah, this is a video where I rank the Robins, but it's not really about that, so I'm still going in canonical chronological order. Anyway, on to Jason Todd. Alright, this one's funny. So Joker decides that he wants to create and destroy a Robin. Probably because for some reason he's never been able to traumatize Dick Grayson. If you ask me, he wasn't really trying. We've seen that he can traumatize anyone if he really wants to. So anyway, Joker decides to basically set Jason's father up to go to prison, then have his father killed in prison, and his stepmother OD'd or something so she wasn't around, making Jason Todd yet another orphan. Then Joker somehow guided Batman to deciding to get a new Robin after Dick Grayson became Nightwing and went off on his own. Then he somehow made sure that he picked Jason Todd. All of this nonsense began with the death in the family, because in that storyline, Joker got Jason's real mom, who was alive apparently and just so happened to know the Joker, to work with him to trap Jason in the warehouse where he tortures him by beating him with a crowbar for prolonged periods of time while taunting him with menacing psychological attacks, before blowing them both up with a bomb to kill them. And Jason actually tries to protect his mother from the blast, even after all that trauma, because he's just that much of a hero. So obviously there are some convenient details in this story. Joker just happened to know about his mom and was able to exploit this to get him into a trap. So they try to fix this, around the same time that Joker is approaching this ridiculous god figure vibe in the comics, which I'm definitely not even going to get into for this video. And the result is that Joker planned everything. Every bit of trauma in Jason's life, just to get at Batman. It's all actually a fucking prank. It's hilarious. So Joker probably made his mom OD and sent his father to jail and made sure that Jason would be in that exact alley because he's just that spooky, knowledgeable, and omnipotent. Unfortunately, I think this is still canon, but the result is that Red Hood as a vigilante is actually pretty interesting. He actually has a very complex redemption arc going on, because he has severely intense PTSD, and in a fit of madness after being brought back from the dead, which I can only imagine is a more traumatic experience, he started to act out. This involves trying to kill Batman, Nightwing, Red Robin, and Robin all at different points in his rebellious stage. But now he's back under Batman's wing and has to deal with his maddeningly, horrifyingly vivid, traumatic flashbacks while trying to be the good guy. And because he did all of that evil shit in the past, he can now act as a hero while pretending to be a villain. I'm also just gonna admit right here that I know it's blasphemous and I know I'm about to alienate myself with my opinions. I do really like Jason Todd as a character. His canon backstory is kinda dumb, but I like the direction they're going with it at the moment. Jason's kinda like the underachiever of the family. He's kind of a rebel, so he doesn't live up to his potential, but he's got a dark side. And he's charismatic like Dick, but he always felt overshadowed by his big brother. He's also at the peak of physical ability, but there's a notable gap in skill between him and characters like Bruce, Dick, and Damian. But he makes up for it with tenacity, kind of having inherited that from Bruce. But hey, he's probably the best with guns, besides maybe Damian, or Tim, spoiler alert. So Jason's another character I really like, but unfortunately I'm gonna rank him the lowest of all the Robins. The other ones are just all that great. I know I just criticized Dick for not having much of a character arc recently, and now I'm praising Jason for having a good character arc, but still saying that I like Dick better, which may seem confusing, but having a character arc is just one thing I like about a character. And there are a lot of other criteria that Dick just shines in while Jason kinda lags behind. Also, Dick has had a great character arc, it's just kinda on pause in most of his recent stories. So yeah, Jason's really good, but Dick's still better. Tim Drake. This is the third Robin. This may have been another moment of meta writing being really popular in DC, but Tim Drake basically decided that Gotham needs a Batman, and Batman needs a Robin. So despite not being an orphan, he became Robin. It's just that simple. In Rebirth, Tim Drake really just wants a regular life. He first approaches Batman and Nightwing to convince them to work together again, because he believes that Batman needs Robin. He realized on his own that after Jason Todd's death, Bruce had been acting alone, and he was getting increasingly violent and reckless. He was straying from his path and putting himself in more and more danger in the process. He convinces Nightwing to work with Batman again, but he can't get him to go back to being Robin. This isn't enough somehow, so they both end up getting trapped. And Tim has to steal Jason Todd's old Robin suit and equipment to save Batman and Nightwing. He becomes a new Robin because he realizes he's the only one who can fill the role. Years later, he realizes the life isn't for him. He wants to stop being Robin so he can go to college and be with his girlfriend, Spoiler, aka Stephanie Brown. I'm not going to spoil what happens in the Rebirth Detective Comics run because I think it's really good and you should check it out if you're interested, but I'll say that Tim analyzes his life and comes out of the other side of that ordeal, deciding that not only will he be Robin, but one day he'll even take over the mantle of Batman, but to try to do it in a way that won't make him miserable, which he previously believed was the curse of being Batman. This is kinda cool because it parallels the current arc about Batman opening up and getting engaged to Catwoman, and how a mutually loving relationship can potentially enrich Bruce's life. This may be the first many of you are hearing about this, and you might be feeling a little apprehensive about the concept, but trust me, it's good. So, I love Tim Drake. His dynamic with the Bat family, especially his team in the Detective Comics, is basically, I wish I could be living my own life right now, but unfortunately I'm such a fucking god that you actually need me here, so I'll help you out. He's so skilled and intelligent that he's an indispensable asset to Batman's arsenal. I said before that I like capable characters, and Tim can calculate the most effective way to take you down and execute it flawlessly. Hack your army of robots, and deduce your identity no matter how hard you try to keep it a secret. He surpasses Bruce as the world's greatest detective. Most members of the Bat family are trained to do these things, of course, but it has become Tim's distinguishing identifier. I also like the dynamic of him being Damian's personal punching bag, because Damian is the only Robin smart enough to really keep up with Tim. But he's also snarkier, so it makes sense that he would be the character to roast Tim the most. In Rebirth right now, Tim seems to be in a mutually respectful relationship with all of the other Robins. Because his entire story as a character is so much about the idea of Robin and what he represents, his relationship with the other Robins are pretty interesting. So that makes the Bat family interactions more fun. I can't contain it, guys. There's a million reasons why this character is so awesome. He's also, incidentally, Hoodie's favorite Robin. As for myself, I rank him my second favorite Robin. And I just laid out how much I love this guy, so that just goes to show you that my favorite Robin must be a real great character. Alright, this video is getting long enough as it is, and I'm probably going to spend more time talking about Damian than anyone else up to this point. So this video will be the only two-parter in 31 Days of Kato. Later this week, part 2 will be up. See you there, homies.